Number one, population. What does that mean? Let's say you're moving to an area where there's an inventory of just 10 houses. Let's say the population, there's 10 people. If that population is growing or at least staying stable, then most likely housing prices will stay relatively fixed or maybe even increase. Housing is very supply-demand driven. The more people are looking at homes and the smaller supply there is, prices generally go up. The more supply there is and fewer buyers looking, prices generally will pull down. So you want to go to a place where population is ideally growing because that increases the demand for homes. Unless, of course, if you are a supply side person listening to this, you know, oh, what if they're building a whole lot of homes? That could offset some of that, but generally population growth is a good thing when you're buying a home in an area. In a minimum, at least staying flat. Because imagine if you are looking at an area where the population is shrinking. There's 10 homes for sale and 10 people, but in 5 years, there's only going to be 9 people or 8 people. There's still most likely those 10 homes there. So what happens to the folks that have the homes, but there's not enough people to buy them? That's where generally you see prices pull back. So it's important to pay attention to population. You want to ideally be at a place where population is at least staying flat and ideally even going up. Next consideration we really want to take into account for market considerations would be major employers. Now, this really talking to our military clients and military buyers out there. If you're moving to a new duty station and there's a fort, base, your Army, Navy, wherever you're going for your next location, you want to make sure that ideally your home is within a decent distance from the major employer. And typically for military towns, that's going to be the base or the fort or the naval yard that's there. So you want to make sure that it's relatively close to that. If there's some other major employers, you ideally want to make sure that your home is a decent distance from those. Why? Because people that are moving to a certain city, those are often folks that you might be selling to. You want to make sure that it is convenient for them as well. So you want to take into account major employers, where they're located, and then also the condition of those major employers. Kind of going back to the population, are those employers growing or shrinking? Because that could impact the long-term prospects of your home. Now, lastly, school districts. Pretty common sense one for a lot of folks they know. School districts oftentimes will objectively correlate with home values. Higher rated schools can impact the value of homes. It's shown to have a high impact on home values. So you want to pay attention to what school districts are nearby you. Now, objectively, you can look at a lot of different places to see ratings for schools, but just know it's important to pay attention to school districts of where you're at. And knowing that, again, the folks coming to buy there are often going to be similar to you. So you just want to take that part into account. What are the schools like in the areas I'm going to? We see a lot of folks take that into consideration when they're going to buy their next home. So, local market conditions, population, major employers, and school districts are 3 things, but they're not the only things. There's a lot of other ones that you want to take into account. But if you're considering buying and considering renting, you want to start looking deeper at those considerations.